Welcome back to the channel.
Welcome back to the Pipe Dreams podcast. We're the True Brothers. Today we got an interesting topic for you today.
For the pipe smokers out there.
Yeah, and we're just going to be talking about why young people smoke pipes. That's going to be the topic for today.
Right.
Why is there a movement of people in their 20s, late teens, getting into smoking pipes and pipe tobacco? That's going to be the topic of discussion for today while we're drinking some good mead. But we'll get into that at the end of this episode.
Yeah, it's very tasty.
All right, so the first thing we're going to be getting into at the first of our list, I just brought 5 different points to this list here of why young people are getting into smoking. The first is the pausing and the contemplating. I've talked about this in a previous episode. And we live in an age of social media for pretty much millennials, Zoomers raised with social media. A lot of Gen Xers and Boomers are getting on social media like Facebook and things like that now. But there really has been this 24-hour news week that especially Gen X and Boomers have dealt with, the 24-hour news week of sitting in front of the TV, always being shown, basically being indoctrinated and programmed through the 24-hour news week.
You're just being distracted 24/7. You wake up, you grab your phone for the first hour before you get out of bed. You're on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, especially so the modern person today. We're now in an age of where social media's been around for at least 10 years. It's kind of gotten into all little sectors of society, every little pocket. So, grandparents are on it and children are on it.
If you just even think about your morning, it's literally 24/7 electronics and so you wake up, you're on your phone.
Because a phone woke you up.
Yeah, you get out of bed, you walk downstairs. Older people turn on the news. Younger people are watching YouTube videos as they're cooking their breakfast or whatever. It is 24/7. Then you get in your vehicle, you turn on a podcast, you turn on music, you get to work, and maybe at your job for that 8 hours that you're not but you're behind a computer possibly. But it's 24/7.
A lot of listening to podcasts, listening to music, talking to other.
So the first point is what? It's being able to step away.
Choosing to smoke a pipe. I mean, obviously right now we're kind of multitasking. We're smoking a pipe and trying to do the video.
It's kind of hard, but
typically just smoking in general, the pipe, it is a moment where you can pause from that addiction. And it might not feel like a normal addiction, but because it's so ingrained into just about everyone's life of even just the Protestant work week of feeling like you got to be constantly producing, consuming, that dichotomy can really drain people. And so the pipe is the just stop and contemplate. I mean, honestly, prayer is a very similar thing.
Well, this helps you get away from the stress and the pressure.
Yeah, I got to do something or I got to be consuming something in order to feel productive in the capitalist society.
And if you're familiar with pipe smoking at all, you can't really smoke a pipe with your phone. I mean, I guess you could be watching TV, but you can't be multitasking.
Yeah, I've tried.
This is go on the porch and smoke, go to the woods and smoke,
Even doing it now, it's almost impossible to have a conversation going while keeping your pipe lit.
Yeah, look, I'm not even smoking.
It's made for contemplation. Yeah, and so for the age that we live in, of the overconsumption, the overproduction, the constantly feeling like you need to be on top of the news, whatever the news is kind of pushed down to us, what we think it should be, and what your friends are doing on social media. Personally, I gave up social media a couple years ago at this point.
Yeah, I think we did.
I don't listen to any news. Podcasts is one thing that I do consume. But even with that, there's a lot of give and take. Listen to a channel for a while, get rid of it.
Yeah, and then I even catch myself sometimes being like, holy shit, I've been listening to podcasts all day today.
Yeah, and it makes it, whenever I have a day like that, I would say that my critical thinking part of my brain is almost completely worn down.
Because you didn't use it all. No, because you didn't use it all day. I think that's why. You're critical thinking. You're not critically thinking about anything. You're literally letting something talk to you. You're just thinking about it.
But it's the solving of problems in your head that don't even pertain to your everyday life. Like the news is a lot of problems being shown to you that you can't really solve, but your brain is trying to come up with these things, and like your brain can only answer so many questions in a day. That's why, like, you know, I was on a self-help kick 10 years ago, and that was, you know, part of it was have your outfit picked out the night before. People like Zuckerberg and all these people wear the same outfit every day because it's one less decision you have to make. Eat the same food every day because it's one less
Jordan
decision.
Peterson
Same route to work. Sleep at the same time. Wake up at the same time. And so by the time you're at work to make the important decisions, those are like your first main decisions of the day.
It's almost like they talk about like a surgeon. Their first surgery, they're going to be their best at that first surgery.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be getting surgery after he's done 8. You don't make your you don't want to make your a critical decision when it's like, I don't know, 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
There's a law on that, on how many surgery and how long an actual surgeon can
and
be
how
there.
long you can actually be working.
It does hit a point where
it
hits a point where you just aren't able to critically think anymore. And I think that social media, scrolling through photos on Instagram or be on Facebook or watching the news, there's a part of your brain that it's being overwhelmed with information, and it's trying to solve things to some degree, and basically just stressing you out and basically making it incapable for you to focus on the things right in front of you. Because really, it's like making your bed is nothing compared to trying to solve the world's problems on a political level. I mean, your brain's gonna be going to that and not like, oh, I'm not really gonna.
Yeah, so you skip over
clean
the
this.
small things.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this is one of the points that you have, but another one I have on here is it slows the slow-paced enjoyment. Pipe smoking encourages young men to step away from the fast-paced nature of the digital era and embrace a slower, more deliberate form of enjoyment. So
yeah,
it's kind of
it's basically the whole dopamine thing where a lot of people in the Zoomer and Alpha generations are becoming. Maybe we can do a separate video on this at some point, but
zombies.
Basically, like self-induced autism.
Yeah.
To a degree, they don't have like the capabilities of taking part in normal conversations with people and like everyday life. They have to be sitting there on their phone scrolling while having conversations or listening to a podcast while talking to somebody, because the dopamine level that comes from just a normal conversation is very low. That they need to increase it by multitasking on some sort of social media. Like if you're having a conversation with someone and they pull out their phone and they're scrolling, it's for that dopamine hit. Because your conversation isn't a drug enough for them. And you know, some might say that tobacco is a drug. Not this kind of tobacco. I mean, maybe it's considered some sort of drug.
Nicotine is, but nicotine's actually good for you.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there is no effect really from this at all. Like, I mean, we're not talking about cigarettes. We're talking about pipe tobacco, literally a dried leaf or a smoked leaf, very little imparted on it. You know, what does a small nicotine hit even give to you other than like a moment of like focus and relaxation and like stress
especially with
relief.
the drink too.
Yeah, it's no dopamine hit. So social media and just watching the news and things like this is way more of a drug than pipe tobacco would be. There should be laws on. The problem is it's very profitable on social media and things like that, so there won't be laws anytime soon to regulate technologies, but there will be on some older tradition.
So I guess to put this down to a smaller, like what was the number one topic on, like what was the
just pausing and contemplating.
Yeah, so basically it's like just to take a break, step outside, and let yourself actually use your brain, think about,
like be yourself.
Yeah, be able to step away.
And that's why young people are doing that, because the young people are. I think that Gen X and Boomers were were some of the first victims of programming. They even a lot of, our grandfather talks about the programs on TV, not even thinking that like those are programming you. The millennials to a degree, but I'd say especially Zoomers and Gen Alpha anyone 18 and under, basically, at this point, actually even like 22 and under, are under extreme forms of programming through social media. Several different forms of social media, not just by our own oligarchs in America, like Facebook, like the owners of Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, these sorts of things, but also Chinese, so TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
So you have multiple oligarchs, fiending for these people's attention and dollars and essentially just their eyeballs. And what's that imparting on their brain? And that's where the government gets involved and their contracts with these companies. And
we can get
long story short,
I can really get into that, but we're gonna venture.
The pipe is just to take a break from the
craziness,
the creating of a man into an animal. This is the step back from that, I would say.
I guess we can bring this up too. That's why I've told people I work with, there is a reason why I like to go to the woods. Like we went and did that Allegheny trip in the up in Allegheny Forest, because I work with predominantly women and like electronics. So like there gets to a point where like I need to take a step back and be like, I need to like remind myself that I'm a freaking man.
Yeah,
like going to the woods and getting dirty, taking a crap in the woods, wiping with a leaf, like just like living on like almost like, would that be animal instincts? Just being like, we're getting food.
Human instincts.
I guess. But like, yeah, we're like, just getting sweaty, dirty,
Like going back to the basics.
Completely exhausting yourself. And, by a campfire, smoking, drinking, like, that was a nice break. Like, we went out there for 3 days, and...
you get to be thankful for things.
Thank God. Yeah, that too.
You go back to how your ancestors lived for thousands and... who knows, because science always changes these things. Because no one actually knows, really.
And it humbles you. That David Cho guy says anytime he feels like he's getting consumed with what we call life, he's like, I go to Africa. I go there to humble myself.
Yeah,
which is so true.
For years now, it's every year. I don't know how long you've been doing it.
Hunting?
Well, hunting, but like just going out in the woods and basically just sleeping on the cold floor. And getting 3 hours of sleep at night, waking up for every raccoon.
Mm-hmm. Well, we do it all the time. Yeah, we've done it.
We've been doing it for many years now, but
actually longer than that, since we were like 13.
Yeah, well, yeah. I guess there were some breaks in there that we didn't, but anyways, we can move on to the next topic.
Next point.
The next point, and that is that tobacco, the pipe tobacco, is really, whenever you talk about civilizations, I'm talking about Western civilization here. There's different cuisines, different things that people eat, different types of, maybe you can say drugs, but I'm not saying drugs in like a bad sense. I'm saying like there's certain activities that you can take part in that is not maybe for children. And in Western civilization, a lot of that is tobacco and alcohol. And so I would say that Western civilization, our culture, and I'm not really talking about cigarettes here. Cigarettes had their time in the 20th century pretty much. And that was basically tobacco being turned into an actual, stimulant drug, mass-produced. Same with like light beer and things like that. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is people like, the tobacco, kind of skipping ahead here, but the tobacco that I'm smoking. C.S. Lewis and a lot of the great thinkers of the 20th century smoking pipes. And some of the greatest thinkers, so like they had that contemplation and they were smoking while they're writing a lot of their works. And so I would argue that pipe tobacco and certain alcohols like mead and wine and some good beers like stouts and ambers and things like that are really just a part of our culture, but not just like the culture of like the last 100 years. We're talking like 1,000 years. I don't know. I doubt tobacco was really used maybe like 1,000 years ago, but alcohol at least was tobacco is more of probably like the last 500 years or
probably
600 years.
I would say about 1,000. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I don't think.
I know
we
that
ever
our
came to the conclusion-
ancestors.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we ever came to the conclusion that the Native Americans smoked tobacco because someone was like,
Yeah, we were looking into that for a while. All I know is I know that our ancestors came from England as shipbuilders. On, not our dad's side, but like our one grandmother's side, came from England as shipbuilders in the early years, like early 1600s, and they were growing tobacco in Maryland. So it's at least been around because Europe was basically all obsessed with tobacco, at least at that time, because it was a successful business to get in the 1600s. So it's at least that old. Then they obviously moved to Pennsylvania and they started farming for actual crop, like consumable crops to sustain you, like corn and things like that. But
yeah, there's like a point where I think they turned the leaf into a drug, and the sad thing is I don't think people realize, like, for years they're smoking, and all of a sudden, like, they try to quit, they're like, oh shit, I'm addicted. Like, for the long, like, I don't think people truly knew that they weren't going to be able to actually quit easily, because they changed to, like, from smoking pipes to smoking cigarettes. It's a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I was just at the beach for the last week, didn't smoke anything.
Really fine.
Not one craving. Basically, I just forgot about pipes.
Yeah, and then you might have the one-offs of, like, people that really, like, are addicted to pipe smoking, but
you'd have to be smoking like 5. I can't even. You'd probably be more addicted to the alone time.
Yeah.
And like the taste. Like, you might get addicted to like a certain spice. Like, I'm talking like low on the addiction scale. Or maybe other things that you get addicted to, like the time alone that you're just looking forward to every day. Much different from that craving of the dopamine that you would get. But yeah, I'm just saying that the tobacco and alcohol is much different from other drugs of other cultures, such as weed, which is typically more of like a barbarian, at least in my opinion, more of like a barbarian drug.
1.3?
No, just comparing alcohol and tobacco to other drugs of more intoxicants. Now, obviously, if you drink too much, it's a sin. If you get drunk, you're a drunkard. Drunkards do not inherit the kingdom of heaven, says the Bible. So that being a drunkard has been, outside of the range that we're talking about here. But just enjoying some alcohol is not. It is, definitely part of our culture.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next point. It tastes delicious and it's not bad for you.
This is 0.3?
Yeah, and it's not an intoxicant or a sugar. And I guess, sugar kind of goes in that same category of just like a kid. Like, I remember just being on sugar. Like, no wonder I didn't enjoy any food as a kid. I love everything now.
You guys want to eat sugar.
But, like, whenever, like, our mom gave us, like, not asparagus. Probably asparagus, too. Sauerkraut.
Oh, it was awful.
I hated that. I hated most foods. I hated any bread that wasn't white bread because
sugar.
That's what we had first, and then anything compared to that. But it's interesting, like, once you slowly get off of that, like, sugar obsession, you actually taste it. You start to actually, like, gain a palate.
Once you get off the withdrawal.
Basically. And so what I'm saying is, pipe tobacco is not an intoxicant, and it's back onto that whole dopamine hit thing of sugars, in the same realm of some sort of addiction that you can have towards something. Pipe tobacco is leaving that realm of the modern world of everything is a drug, literally. Anything that's being pushed on you is some degree of being a drug, because they want you to be addicted to things. That's how the modern world works.
Yeah, because they want them. Yeah, because they
Everything's
know you're going to
profit-driven.
be back for more.
That's the capitalist world we live in. Is if they can make $1 on you, really we're just lab rats. And leaving that mentality just for a few minutes to smoke a pipe is beautiful. Next point.
What is it?
The pipe is beautiful. In a world where everything is junk, garbage, something made in China, something made cheap here for profit. The pipe generally is a very beautiful looking instrument that you keep. It's very natural looking, typically made of wood.
Yours
of some
is,
degree.
Yeah. Mine's made out of corn.
Yeah, the corn corncob pipe, of course.
I mean, the amount of time you gotta think of what it takes to put something like this together, and then especially the amount of time it would take to put that thing
Yeah, the
together.
craftsmanship.
And you're gonna have it forever, and it's like an heirloom too. You pass it down to your.
It can get passed on, and it just goes back to the whole Western civilization thing of just the craftsmanship and the tradition of the West compared to any other civilization. And this is obviously to our generation that's been almost forced upon us techniques. So, any form of technology, anything of digital technology, and that's why a lot of Zoomers, even millennials, Generation Alpha, I think is basically screwed in this regard. That's why the vape is really, the vape looks like you can plug into your phone. Can it actually?
Yeah.
I've never vaped.
You can.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You just gotta get I used to smoke the Juul pretty heavily through college. They get me off cigarettes. I wasn't addicted to it, but I was like another source of nicotine. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I can't wake up without smoking this thing. I was very irritable, just short-tempered, and I've never been like that with any nicotine in my life. And I'm like, I need to get off of this. Took 3 days. Those 3 days were the worst ever, and then I was perfectly fine. But yeah, I used to charge my Juul at the bars off my phone. That's the definition of addiction right there.
Well, that's the definition. That's what kind of like what I'm leaning towards here is that the Juul is almost like the logical conclusion, like the logical product of like our generation.
Yeah, because it makes sense.
Of where everything that's like we were raised in a more of a conservative household where there was a skepticism towards things that our parents didn't have. So like the phone and like every sort of Game Boy, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like our parents were like, let's just wait a little bit.
Yeah.
And then introduce it.
Thing is, the Juul's been around for many years now.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, every new technology. So many people in the West today just think that everything. They're obsessed with like this idea of progress. That every new technology is good just by definition because it's like some sort of progress. And so, with that mindset. And being raised in that way of just, okay, here's the new phone. You have to upgrade to it. It's better camera, better internet connection. You have access to these apps. Keep upgrading. Here's a Juul, can plug right into it, and that's your like form of addiction. So you're getting the dopamine hit by going through social media, and then you can be charging your little Juul on the side and then taking a hit of that. It's almost just like a logical.
Because the Juul, there is no. Like you eventually bring a pack of cigarettes to the bar, you eventually run out. Like they solved even that problem.
Yeah.
With you will have nicotine now with you 24/7, and you could smoke it literally anywhere. I used to smoke in the library, smoked in the class, smoked it everywhere. Because all you had to do is take it out, take a puff, blow it in your shirt. There you go. You got your dose of nicotine.
And then you can make it look like, whenever you're doing that, like you're going down on C-3PO. Every time you take a hit.
That's what you guys used to say all the time. Because it is. It's literally like, it's battery acid. Like, you're ripping...
oil.
Which
is great for your lungs.
Yeah, awful. It actually causes more, people smoke nicotine to, calm their nerves and whatever, and some people say anxiety, but, it actually causes more anxiety than smoking just cigarettes and actual tobacco.
Oh, yeah. Because the oils in that are so bad for you. Yeah. It's just a matter of...
You think China gives a shit what they're giving you?
Yeah, well, it's that and, our corporations in the healthcare industry.
But I guarantee that's made over in China.
Yeah, but the healthcare industry right now is basically all propped up to take care of the boomers that are all dying. But once they're dead...
They have no idea what they're getting themselves into.
Well, I'm saying, there's a massive amount of boomers going through there, and there's not as many Gen X, and there's not as many millennials. Once all the boomers are gone in the next 10, 20 years...
Well, then we'll focus on popcorn.
Then there'll be then all the research being done on all the problems with the lungs of all the oils, and then all that a whole generation will be having to go back to the healthcare industry to rehabilitate their lungs.
Yeah, so basically there you are again, where you're a slave to the government.
Yeah, so you just bought all this been addicted to this oil that comes through like a flash drive.
Don't get me
You
wrong.
inhale.
Tastes amazing. I loved it. It was one of the greatest things ever. But
Ever.
when it comes to nicotine, because it was because of the convenience.
Oh yeah.
But I'm glad that I quit, not addicted to it anymore. Yeah, and I'm back to smoking, because the thing too is it actually knocked out all my enjoyment for any other nicotine, because the dose of the Juul was so high, and like you're getting that mindset of like, I'm smoking this for the nicotine. Like it was years, because there was no point in smoking a pipe, because you don't get as much nicotine from a pipe after you've been smoking something that's nic salts of like 5 to 6% nicotine. And cigarettes, I mean, one Juul pod's a pack of cigarettes. 4 Juul pods are in a pack. You smoke 4 packs of cigarettes. I've done that in one night, which is crazy to even say.
A lot of oil.
It's a lot of oil, but my lungs have probably cleared up because I haven't smoked chronically smoked it in years. I think we're at 3 now.
Yeah, so way better than sort of the C3PO phallus that you suck on for oil.
Exactly.
You know, aesthetically way better in that regard.
Still a phallus shape.
His phallus looks like this. A black dude?
There you go.
I'm kidding. We're cutting that out.
Definitely keeping that in.
Alright. Yeah, I don't know whose phallus looks like this, but at least those C3PO things that they hold
They're
up
rectangular.
Yeah, but... Yeah, so the last point that we really wanted to talk about was the current culture is degenerate, it is hedonistic, and weak. And so pretty much the mindset here is like adopting the culture that preceded all of that a ways. So, anything that basically the boomer generation and onward did, seen as, from our generation, as weak, rejected. They don't really know. Something went wrong in the 60s, clearly. I think that everyone can see that the sexual revolution of the 60s, in part, was at least done by the CIA, but the people that, grabbed onto it, much of the boomer generation, they wanted their war, I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but basically everything from like boomers and onward was very weak. And they created weak children. And then those children just happened to be born into like the greatest economy
Took advantage
in
of
human
it.
history. Have had no real problems. The draft ended. There was no war. White picket fences all around. And, that creates the millennial and the Zoomer generation where just as weak as you can get. So the typical strong men create good times create weak men create hard times, which is now, and then hard times create strong men.
I can't remember that.
So I'm hoping that's right. And so, I think that these are sort of just the... part of the apparel of those that are on the other side, trying to lean towards the, hard times create strong men. And that's sort of the goal here. In the culture and how it's dividing, you have like the degenerate, the hedonistic, essentially the sinful part of the culture, which is the majority, no doubt. Just looking at the statistics of everything. And what people believe and like their rituals that they partake in, such as overconsumption, pornography use, premarital relations, not getting married in the church, not having children, contracepting, degenerate culture. And then those that are trying to move on from that 1960s mindset and onto more traditional.
Yeah, I just think that
ways of
the generations now, they have a hard time finding like the small little pleasures and things, because they're like, imagine having porn at your hand, all the drugs at your hand,
literally
constantly,
fingertips.
yeah, constantly stimulated. So like, yeah, I could see why it'd be hard for someone nowadays to be like, oh, let me smoke a pipe for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and just kind of.
What am I gonna learn?
Sunset.
What am I gonna be stimulated by? Like, what's the point of it?
Yeah.
They just don't.
And so.
Is that the last point?
That's basically it, actually.
No, really?
You got anything?
Let's see.
Yeah,
Patience and discipline was I mean, I don't know if that was in there. Because you have to be patient.
Yeah, and you got to be disciplined in a way of like figuring out how this whole process works.
Yeah, because some people get annoyed.
You got to be working it.
Yeah.
It's not something that's simple, you know. I like to get into a system where I got to relight one time. I mean, not counting the beginning. I got to light, damp it down, relight, get a good flame there, a good light for like 10 minutes. Naturally usually dies down on me.
Because of the ash.
Get rid of some of the ash.
Yeah.
You know, make it flat again. Get the second light going. Carry that out to the end. Dump it all.
Yeah.
20 minutes. It's like 10-10.
And that's
the way I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, that works if it's just you. Like if I'm by myself,
this
it's usually one
is
light.
horrible. Whenever I can't have a conversation.
Yeah. So those were what, about 5 points or 6 points?
5.
Plus the mine? Or is that making it 5?
2, 3, 4, 5. Yours was let's just say 6.
All right. Those are the 6 points that why
young people are leaning towards smoking pipe tobacco. Pipes.
Yeah. We'll talk about what are you smoking?
Smoking C.S. Lewis's blend. C.S. Lewis, who wrote books like Mere Christianity, Screwtape Letters, works like that. I know that. I've read Mere Christianity.
He wrote Narnia, right?
Oh yeah, he wrote Narnia. But a lot of those early English thinkers, by early I mean early 20th century writers, English, from England. Let's see, C.S. Lewis, Tolkien, Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm a fan of Christopher Dawson. Comes from that same tradition. Catholic Englishman. Hilaire Belloc, Catholic Englishman, around the same time, early England.
Geniuses.
Who else? G.K. Chesterton. These are some of the greatest minds that we can, get a lot of wisdom from. A lot of them pipe smokers. And so I'm smoking C.S. Lewis's blend here.
And I'm smoking Pennsylvania Dutch Treat by Boswell.
And I'm drinking a mead.
Both are.
That I made. I bottled it January 2022. It's actually a Skyrim mead, if anyone's played Skyrim.
Delicious, by the way.
This is a honey brew mead. So, right outside of the city of Whiterun. I know we've done a video on this, but this one is oaked. So I actually oaked this one. So it's basically apples and honey, fermented. And then I kill the yeast, sweeten it a little bit with some honey.
It's simple and delicious.
And then I add a lot of oak chips to this one. Perfect drink. I love it. They're called Sizers.
Sometimes you just want to keep some of these drinks simple because there's too much going on.
Yeah. And I have 3 gallons of something similar to this brewing up.
Can't wait.
So we should be good for a bit.
And
that's all I got for you on this podcast.
Check out our top 3 videos. It's the same 3.
Yeah. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Instagram at the Chuba Brothers. We haven't really been posting there, but we got to get back to posting there.
Where?
Instagram.
Okay. And then we're trying to post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but YouTube is stupid and takes forever to upload certain things on certain times. I don't know how people do it exactly 8 o'clock. I think it's because people go live. We don't really like to go live because we like to edit certain things, and usually when you go live, you can't edit the videos at all. So if like the videos pop up like Tuesday morning, I did post it more likely Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. It just took forever to upload because we all should do these videos in 4K, so it takes forever for them to come up on YouTube.
Yeah.
But that's it.
That's it for us. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in another video. Yeah. Peace.